The first thing I would love to talk about specifically, kind of get right into it, is let's talk about pending home sales, because that's really a great indicator where the market is.
The pending contract signings have been coming down throughout this year, and it's for a simple reason. Mortgage rate was rising, then rising, rising, rising. It always moves in the opposite direction. But we should note that the pending contract, during the lockdown, it crashed because we were stuck at home. Then once the economy reopened, there was a bursting of activity. So, second half of 2020, 2021, fantastic real estate activity, but this year coming down. So once mortgage rate begins to stabilize, pending contracts should stabilize.
For sure. And a little bit of gravitational pull there, right? You have an overheated market, and then it gets to level off. And obviously, agents get freaked out when the market's raging hot because they can't help their buyer find a home, and there's inventories is too quick. It's this hectic pace. And then when it stabilizes to a more solid, pace, people are freaked out because it's change, and no one likes change. And so obviously the rates have artificially been increased. The Fed's been very heavy-handed. I predicted 6 rate increases this year, and we'll have 6, but I didn't predict so many of them being 75 basis points. So they've been somewhat heavy-handed. They initially were talking about a soft landing, which you and I did not believe in. So because they were a little underprepared, now they've kind of overcorrected. And so let's talk a little bit about rates. Everyone wants to know what's going on because obviously that affects so much of people's purchasing decisions. But I'd like to get a little wonky with people for a second. I want to talk about the rates, but I also want to talk about their connection to the 10-year Treasury yields. And again, I know that's a little technical for a lot of people. I think it's helpful to educate people how this stuff works, because then they'll understand why we're able to forecast the market so well. So let's talk about the 30-year mortgage rate for right now.
The 30-year fixed rate mortgage reached 20-year high. I mean, we have not seen the rapid increase in such a short duration of time. So to go from under 3% to above 7% within a short few months, I mean, this is a rapid increase, 20-year high, and key reason as to why the buyers are retreating. I would say for the most part, the buyer confidence about the real estate is there. It's just that they cannot afford a much higher interest rates.
Right. Right. And there's no doubt. I mean, it's like downshifting in a stick shift car. They are grinding the gears to try to correct an overheated market. We have government spending that drives so much of this. We had so much money printed into the system. And now the Fed, which to some degree you could say is almost working contrary to government policy, is trying to downshift. And so it's not so much that the rates are ridiculously high, 7%. I worked in rates when it was 12 and 13%. It's just the speed of that. And I think that's what's taken so many people off guard. It took 4 months to radically change the rates like that. And so that's really been the course correction. Let's get a little wonky here for a second, Lawrence, and talk about Treasury yields and the 30-year mortgage rates, why those two are connected. And maybe you can explain to folks what a 10-year Treasury yield actually is and why they're so connected.
The U.S. government, they are collecting tax revenue, but spending more than that, so they have to borrow some amount. So the interest rate that the U.S. government is paying, in essence, is the blue line that you see on the screen, the 10-year Treasury yield. And in America, I mean, there are some blessings in America with the government-backed mortgages. Much of the mortgages go through Fannie, Freddie, or the FHA, Veterans Affairs. And consequently, this mortgage rate that we are seeing is for home buyers and not homeowners. Unlike, say, people living in Ireland, Australia, when the central bank raises their rate, next month homeowners' bill rise.
Yes.
But not in America.
Mm-hmm.
But for home buyers, it's a difficult situation. But when the government interest rate rises, naturally that's going to push up other interest rate. And what we find is that the mortgage rate and 10-year Treasury generally moves very similarly together.
Right, which also should give people a little encouragement to know the forward-looking forecast for themselves of where things are at. Obviously, right now, I have Treasury bills that I bought because they're paying me 4.3% than having the cash sit in the bank. And so then they loan that money out, and the banking system borrows that money and then relends that money again.